Noting the hour, I will call the meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. And because we are not all in the room, all the votes that we take tonight will be a roll call vote. We'll start with our attendance. Mary?
Roland here.
Priya?
Priya present.
Alan?
Present.
Maria?
Present.
And Mac? Present. Do we have any input from the community, either in the room or online? Remember that you may speak up to 3 minutes, either before or after the meeting.
Okay, so I don't see anyone online. Is there any community input in the room?
No, I guess we don't have any right now.
No.
Okay, new business. So the fall town meeting.
Matt,
Recording in progress.
Matt,
Yes. Oh, yes.
I would like to share, you know how Sarah's been doing the updates of things we've been hearing over the past 2 weeks?
Right.
I'd like to share it. Bear with me, it's a little bit long because we've had a lot of input. So this is in response to what we've heard in the past 2 weeks from the Fire Station Building Committee meeting, our public information session, passing information out at the transfer station, and attending the fall festival. The Fire Station Building Committee has about $100,000 in our budget that we expect to have unspent, even though some of it is encumbered money, which is committed money. 1300 Mass Ave, the site there has wetlands on both sides of the property, to the west side and the far east side. We heard from the town and continued to hear from the town that cost was a determining factor for site selection, which is one of the several reasons why 72 Stowe Road was selected by the Fire Station Building Committee and put forth at the May town meeting. The sense of the meeting article at the October fall town meeting will help the Fire Station Building Committee determine if the voters are willing to pay more for a fire station that is not at 72 Stowe Road. It is a non-binding decision and a chance for the Fire Station Building Committee to hear directly from the voters. Over 75% of the town of Boxborough is in the agricultural residential zone, ag-res, with commercial and industrial areas predominantly along Mass Ave, 111, and 495. Limited zoning for public safety would reduce the number of available sites for the fire station within Boxborough. The current fire station site, 502 Mass Ave, is located in the agricultural residential zone. A special permit would require design documentation to be created and submitted. Design documentation would mean that the town would spend more money on designing a space without certainty on the location of the building. The cost of the fire station has not been determined. The Fire Station Building Committee is currently in the conceptual phase, which focuses on whether a building is feasible on a site. Further design, 3 more phases that take approximately 1 year to complete, is required to determine the details of the building, reviewing costs at each phase, allowing us to present a final cost to build a fire station to the town. Although the Fire Station Building Committee will be cost conscious throughout the design phases, the majority of efficiencies and cost reduction occurs in the second to last phase, design development, because the project will then be detailed enough to review and recommend the materials, means, and methods of construction. The traffic study that was conducted at 72 Stowe Road showed no indication of traffic congestion at the Mass Ave Stowe Road intersection, even with a fire station located at 72 Stowe Road. We are aware of the community's request for safer walking and biking on Stowe Road. If the site is selected, we would like the opportunity to address this through the design of the landscaping and making recommendations to the select board to implement. We are also considering a light on Mass Ave for any of the potential locations. The current fire station, being right across from Blanchard Memorial Elementary School, has traffic from school buses, parent pickup and drop-off, and kids walking and biking to and from school. The firefighters currently encounter more traffic at their current location than any of the other proposed site locations. The Fire Station Building Committee has heard that there are concerns about noise and light impacts. The Fire Station Building Committee is very committed to listening to mitigation ideas and will implement measures to reduce the impact of noise and light during construction and operations. These measures will be discussed during the future design phases. We had a tax rate table completed for the Fall Town Meeting information session on September 29th, which we have posted on our website. It shows that a bond interest rate of 4% starting in 2028 for a home that has an assessed value of $1 million, a $30 million construction cost would increase taxes for the $1 million house by $934 a year. For a home that has an assessed value of $600,000, it would increase taxes for that home by $560 per year. The current concept design for 72 Stowe Road appears to be feasible on 700 Mass Ave and 1300 Mass Ave. The concept design contains the needed space that the firefighters require by code and based on the needs of the town. The concept design created for this site is smaller than that designed for 502 Mass Ave. The 502 Mass Ave site conditions require a larger floor area to accommodate the same spaces contained within the 72 Stowe Road building. The relocation cost for the temporary fire station facility was estimated by our owner's representative and is located in the project budget folder. The Fire Station Building Committee chose not to pay for a design of the temporary site as a comparable estimate was able to be obtained from the owner's representative who was working on a similar project in Massachusetts. This cost estimate was further validated with public information for actual temporary fire station costs that are currently being utilized. The fire chief stated in a planning board meeting that a temporary emergency operations center can be created during an emergency situation. For example, during the pandemic, an emergency operations center was opened at the Regency because the fire department had no emergency operations center on site. And I'm going to pause here and ask the chief if he wants to make a comment on this.
My only comment would be is that having to create an ad hoc, a temporary emergency operations center, there's so many limitations to us having to do that on a regular basis that it's much more beneficial to the community and to the department if we had the integrated emergency operations center at the fire station where we can utilize all the resources that we currently have there, such as our computer databases, our communications, our telephones, etc. So I just would say that even though that may be a possibility, it is not a benefit to the town at all. That the town would benefit greatly from having it integrated at the fire station.
Thank you. I have two more points from Sarah's list. The Fire Station Building Committee has discussed at length the concerns of 502 Mass Ave site being within a wetland setback and a riverfront setback. The latest wetland survey for the site confirms that the wetlands have encroached further onto the site than when they were previously recorded. Additionally, the firefighters have stated that the water has encroached on the site as compared to previous years. The concept plan moves the fire station as far away from the wetland setback as possible. However, it still lies within the riverfront setback and within the 100-year floodplain. Additionally, the concept design calls for bringing in 6.5 feet of fill to raise the lowest level of the fire station higher. And then finally, Town Hall has received a few questions regarding information in a flyer mailed by the town. That's what people thought. The fact is that the only thing mailed by the town to residents is the fall town meeting warrant. Anything else mailed to residents was by a different group for their own purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Sarah, for writing that. Yeah, that's very helpful. This last few meetings we've had to be able to respond to things from the community. That's been helpful. I just would like to go through the four things from the that are coming up to the town meeting to see if anybody has any more comments about that. We know that Article 1 is regarding if a public safety building can be built anywhere in town, and we know that the planning board voted to support that 3-2. Our committee voted 6-0, and the select board voted to recommend it 4-1. Any other comments about that?
No.
Article 2 is about being able to have a larger public facility in the town center, and that was recommended by the FinCom 6-0. The planning board deferred their recommendation. Our fire station building committee recommended that 6-0, and the select board deferred their recommendation. Any other comments about that? In Article 3, our sense of the meeting, whether the voters will support to spend additional money to not have it at 72 Stowe Road, where we believe is the least expensive. Our fire station building committee recommended that 6-0. The FinCom does not support that, and they voted 0-6. The capital committee does not recommend that, 0-5, and the select board made no recommendation at this time. In Article 4, the sense of the meeting about whether we want to have green construction that would cost about $1 million more to make that happen. Our committee voted 7-0 to support that. The finance committee recommended it 4-2. The capital committee recommended it 5-0, and the select board recommended it 5-0, and the sustainability committee recommended it 6-0. So it's not totally unanimous, but any of these, but that's what we're going with.
Mary has her hand up.
Yes, Mary?
I would just note to the committee that I am working on presentations for Articles 3 and 4. They're due to Kelly tomorrow at noon. So I unfortunately didn't have them ready to share, but I will be getting those in. And then I will also note that we have a meeting scheduled for 6:15 at the Regency on the 14th, in case there's anything else we want to vote related to that town meeting.
Good, thank you. So the special town meeting that's coming up December 15th and 16th, at that time we expect that we will have an article that will propose for the voters to vote to support the design and bid phase, and we don't know that exact number right at this time, but then we would assume that a year later we would be coming back to the town at a town meeting sometime within the next year to actually secure the funds to build the firehouse. So in December it will just be for the design and bid funds, and perhaps we might be voting to asking voters to support the buying of some land where we believe will be the best place to have our firehouse. Any other comments about that?
Mary has her hand up again.
Yes, Mary.
Yes, yes. So we do, I think when we present to town meeting for the design costs and for the land, people are going to want to know the estimate of the building, the actual construction. And so I think we need to talk about that. We had an estimate that was done previously that was the entire project. We've asked Steve at Vertex to put together the budget and take out the land purchase and take out a few other things like the demolishing of 502, because that could happen not within this project, and get to a budget that then we have to decide, are we going to go in with that budget or are we going to go with a tighter budget? Because we're hearing from the town that it needs to be a tight budget. So I'm wondering, Steve, if you could share that budget with us, maybe share your screen, and we can look through it. And then it would really help if tonight or at the 16th, our meeting on the 16th at the latest, we decide a cost that we're gonna, like a budget that we're gonna hold the project to. So this is the budget. It has the Mass Ave, 502 Mass Ave is column C, and 72 Still Road is column E. It's built around the construction costs that were estimated on March 10th. And so you can see that cost for both buildings, and then it goes through, I don't know if we want to go through this in detail. We've seen this, but I can say it has.
Mary, and I can go through it.
Yeah, why don't you just talk us through it generally, Steve?
Okay, so basically what I did, based on our conversations of just showing what the amount of the project would be when we get to the construction stage. We have, as you can see, 502 and 72. These are the costs that were estimated in March 10th. And I've tried to highlight in yellow certain numbers that I've adjusted. Because of this original estimate was based on a different timeline, I've increased the escalation to match what I think we're going to be at this point. I've taken out, we had at 72 Still Road, we had been including the demolition of 502. I took that cost out. I'm sort of going to go back and forth because they sort of, there's parallels to both. But on 502, we had a $3.8 million temporary fire station facility for the swing space. I just took an arbitrary $1 million off of that just to see what the bottom line is. We don't have the information that's being pursued with the Regency yet, and we also have to consider that what the temporary living quarters are going to be, which for the dorms would be the hotel, but we need other spaces for admin, for obviously for apparatus and equipment. So I know all that's being worked on, but I just did that so that we would have something, and no one would say that I wasn't discounting it. So here where we come down with keeping the construction contingency at 5%, including that, we're at a hard cost of 32.8 for 502 and 27.1. If you want to take the contingency or not consider the contingency, our numbers are 31.2 and 25.8 for the two buildings. And again, the square footage is the same as it was before. 72 is 20,800 square feet, and 502 is 22,000. Moving down to the soft costs, taking the feasibility, conceptual, site selection fees, and the design fees for both context and vertex out. What I'm showing here is your construction administration and closeout, which would be during construction, for both context and for vertex. Obviously ours goes higher in construction because we have the clerk of the works on the site full time, whereas during design we have less staff input. Moving down, none of the other soft costs for FF&E, fire equipment, construction materials testing, didn't touch any of those yet because we need to carry numbers until we get into design, and at that point maybe we can get some better quotes on things, but I left all that alone. and we ultimately get to a soft cost total, which is inclusive of fees for design and OPM. You've got 3.7 for 72, 4.3-ish for 502. And then you combine the two. We're keeping the 1% owner's contingency. We're down to 37.5 for 502, 31.1 for 72, and we've taken off any land acquisition costs also and appropriations to date.
So, thank you, Steve. So, you know, we're going to go into all of this. We're not going to have a detailed estimate like this on other sites. And so, no matter what site we go on, we need to go in with a budget. And we're hearing from the community over 30 million is too high. And so I'd like us to think about, you know, can we go before the town and say 28 million, 29 million? I don't know. I don't think we can get it to 24 million, but where are we willing to go to get support for this building?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I have a question, Steve. On the swing space where you took out $1 million, is that million if we end up at the Regency? Or have we revised that number down? Or is this just a guess? Because
It's completely arbitrary because we don't have the information on the Regency at this point. Maybe it could go down more. Don't know yet, but I wanted to show something.
Okay, but
there should be some kind of savings.
If we were at the Regency, that's my question.
Well, I think he's being responsive to the community, saying that's way too high, and so he was just playing with it to see, well, what happens if you go down $1 million? But it's not going to be a lot lower than that because there are real costs to swing space.
Well,
Right.
so
I think the question for Mike is, do we think we can get the Regency's estimate by the 16th? And then we could put in that number.
So I
Because
do. So
because
Chief,
the Regency also eliminates the DPW aspect of the swing space when we were going to the old DPW site.
right, but
right. So Chief and I met with the asset manager at the Regency today. We had previously met and had conversations with the general manager as well as the director of sales. That's Chief and I. So they had more questions. We did a site walk through the outside area that we'd be looking to lease, as well as the rooms and interior area that we'd be looking to rent or lease. So we don't have any numbers yet. We did tell them that we really needed numbers by a week from today. And we were hoping to have them actually earlier this week to talk about them tonight. But there's a lot involved in it. There's contractor costs that will come directly through us. There's rental costs that will come directly through us. And then there's a lot of fees that would come to the town from the Regency. So we're working on our end, they're working on their end. We have some of our fees already. But, we did tell them he's meeting in the next couple of days with the owner of the Regency to review this and find out, first of all, are they willing to do this? And if so, at what cost? So I told them we really need this for next week's meeting by midday, a week from today. And I told them if there was any hang-ups, could they at least give us a rough estimate so we can, I told them, why we have these deadlines, so they're working on that. I will say that we have no indication yet that we didn't tell them what our other swing space cost is, but but there's we have no indication whether it's going to be higher or lower or close to the same. We have no indication at all.
so I guess that's my question. Why would we take $1 million out of that swing space when we don't have an indication. We take it out if we know that it could be less. But right now, you just said, we don't know if we can be there, and we don't have an indication if it's the same, higher or lower. I get nervous about putting numbers out there, and then, even if we know it's a draft, right, but then having to go back and increase it. So I would rather keep that number higher until we hear from the Regency and we know what that number, where we land on that number, because that feeds into the bottom line. If we can save $1 million, that's awesome.
Right.
But we don't know that we can save $1 million, and I don't think it's a good idea to put estimates, lower estimates. I think we need to be conservative and be realistic with the public, so that we don't go back and have to add $1 million.
Yeah, I do agree with Steve that there is some savings, don't know what that number is, because we're not moving 2 departments, we're just moving 1. But we don't know what that number is. And Steve did qualify it with, this is arbitrary to see what happens to the bottom line number if he just moves, some number on the, but I understand what you're saying.
I know, but like, you don't even know that we can do it yet. So there will be some savings, whatever that
That's
savings
fine,
is.
yeah.
But we're not even sure we can do
So
it
we
yet.
can put that, so we can put that back up to the 3 million and change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and if
that's
we-
not a
And
problem.
then hopefully we can, have that estimate from the Regency by our meeting on the 16th.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve, did you have something else?
No, I just said that's fine. I can make that change and put the number back.
So, Mary, when do you want us to come up with this number that that you're thinking? Because, are you thinking about
Well-
that for the 16th?
I think it would be good if we could put it in our explanation in the warrant. And I am not entirely sure of the dates, if we have to do that by the 16th or a week later by the 23rd, but in that time frame.
So, we know that $6 million, $6 million number is scaring people, and people will think that all of the other sites will, even though it says up to 6 million, I think that people are thinking, well, I don't want to pay an extra 6 million. So I think it's worth.
Wait, what 6 million are you talking about?
For anything beyond 72 Stowe Road, for the sense of the meeting, that says up to 6 million.
Okay, because that's, right, no, I understand that, but that's not in the budget we were looking at.
No, I know. I was going back to that
Okay.
to say that
Okay,
I would
didn't understand
I would
that. Okay.
consider taking $1 million off that just to make it more reasonable and
But
we've
it
had
has
so
to
much.
be based in reality, though. It has to be based on something that's going to give us an indication. I understand that the public doesn't like that number, but we have to be transparent. We can't just take it off to calm the public if we actually need the money.
Well, as you know, though, our committee did not vote to do that study. If we'd have done that study, we would know exactly what it is, but we voted not to do that, so.
And we're doing it now, and we'll have it for our next meeting.
Right. So we'll talk about that. And
But my larger question is, even if we look at the 72 Stowe Road number, and let's just assume for now that the other 2 Mass Ave sites could be somewhat similar in cost to that, what kind of budget, I feel like we have to go in with a budget for the design phase. What budget would you want to be setting it at? What would you feel comfortable setting it at?
right. And that's a difficult thing because that number will not be based on really hard evidence. We're going to have to say what we believe the community will vote for and ask the designers to design to that number. And that's,
Right.
our listening group has been talking about that for all 3 meetings, and I find that a difficult thing, but I think we have to do that.
Priya has her hand up.
Priya?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is that, again, it shouldn't be arbitrary, right? Like, and like, on the one hand, we are saying we have to go with a number. On the other hand, one of our warrant articles is also about it might cost up to $1 million more for, like, say, the sustainability piece, right? So it's.
Well, I would think that because this budget doesn't have that sustainability piece in it. So if we thought this budget could go to, say, 28, and then the sense of the meeting article says spend the $1 million on green, then we go to 29. We'll take that into consideration after town meeting once we have that feedback.
Okay. Anything else?
But I mean, I also want to know, like, to say, like, I mean, people definitely want a lower cost. That's very loud and clear. Some of them are asking, like, why can't we proceed with the whichever the one site is lowest cost? Of course, there's probably the other bunch of people that are wanting different. So it's truly, Mary, I mean, I don't know if we should go, like we talked about, with like 2 different choices where people can then make the decision. Like, I mean, this is.
Yeah, I think that we need to wait till after town meeting at this point. We're a week away. We need to see what zoning is. If we don't have zoning in ag res, then 72 comes off the table. If we do pass it there, then maybe that and another property goes forward if we feel another property has merit. You know, we're not just going to throw properties. That's why we didn't put 2 properties forward in the past, because we didn't feel 502 had enough merit. And so I think we have to wait and see what happens next week. And maybe we need to wait on all of this to just see what happens before we get to this.
I think I agree.
But know that we're going to have this conversation. It's a difficult conversation, and we need to have it, and we need to have it soon.
So, Mary, we went through that list of items that of where we thought we could cut some stuff out, and Steve and Jeff put some stuff forward, and it was more material-based items, and I thought that we were able to put a bit of a dent in, you know, we were certainly willing to look at all of this. I find this very difficult because, you know, if we want to get it to a number, but we don't know what that number, you know, I'm not an expert at construction, so, you know, I disagree. I understand people want a number, but we can't just say $25 million and let's just build to that, because that might not get us the programming. So I liked what we did last time, where we looked at the items and said, you know, we really could change the roof in this part and save X number of dollars. I guess I would like to have us go back and use that, if we're going to have this discussion next week, get that list back out and say, all right, we know we can cut, or we've said we're willing to cut, you know, some stuff out of this right off the bat, and then bring those numbers down that way. I don't know how we sit here with nothing in front of us and say, well, the public wants us to do $24 million, so our budget should be 26.3. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's not how you move forward on projects. We need some estimate. So
part of the issue is that go ahead, Mary.
Go ahead, Matt. Well, I was just going to say, devil's advocate. You know, we all do this in our lives all the time. You set yourself a budget for something and you work toward that budget. Now, do you sometimes go over budget? Yes. And if we did, do we explain it? You know, like, nobody knows what's going to happen with tariffs. I think people understand that reality could change some things, but it's not far-fetched to say we're going to go for a budget. But I very much like your idea. I think maybe our homework is to pull out that list and see what you're comfortable getting rid of and how much does that save. And does that save $1 million or $1.5 million, $2 million? And then we can see if that can get us to a number we're more comfortable with.
I mean, I think then that's more realistic for me. If we're starting at a $30 million
Yeah.
number, and these are real numbers that engineering has given us, and tariffs need to be put aside, because the reality is we have no idea where that's gonna land. Because, you say we do a budget at home. Well, when I did my kitchen, first I talked to a few people to say, what do you think about what this is gonna cost me? And then, but I had professionals tell me what they thought my kitchen was gonna cost. And then I said, really, maybe I don't need X, and maybe I don't need Y, because I wanna cut. Or, I do want this, so I'll cut these two things. But it was based on real numbers from real professionals, not from me spitballing
Yeah.
and just saying, I'd like to only spend $10,000 for a $30,000 kitchen. So we're just,
Yeah.
Steve
Yeah.
has his hand up as well.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, everybody, but just remember, these are conceptual numbers. We don't have a design.
They're not based
So,
on
we came up with conceptual estimates for value engineering also. Many times value engineering is done much further down the line. I know we need to get to some kind of a number or a range or approximate, but just reminding everybody that we're at conceptual. That's all. Thank you.
So there are, as you mentioned, that list of 43 items, there are a number of items there that will not affect the program, that we believe. Things on the outside, for example.
Yeah.
Materials,
Yeah, they're material things. So there are some things there. The other thing, though, I would say to you, Maria, Target does not sell anything for $30.25. They sell it for $29.95. And it's a psychological thing, but I think we have to get that number under $30 million.
I'm
for
not
people.
arguing about that. I'm just saying that we can't, we need to get there in a way that makes sense, because and it does, I think we can get under 30 million. I don't know that we can get to 26 million, and I'm afraid that that's where people are like comfortable at $25 million. I think we can get under 30, but anything that we do needs to be based in reality. Again, it can't be, I would like a fire station to have this much, but I only want to do it for this much money and not be able to get there.
But as Steve has said a couple of times, these are conceptual numbers, and those numbers can be massaged without probably hurting the program. But we can't do that now. We don't know that now, but we're going to have to assume that can happen.
I understand that. We that's what we did on the school building, right? And it worked for us. Unfortunately, there are people in town who are pushing us on this budget issue, and it is, in my opinion, putting the cart before the horse, because we're doing value engineering way too early on a design we don't have. I think this is much more effective down the road. I do think we can say, as long as we have some realistic, just facts behind us, we can say we will get this project down to $28 million. If we can get it lower than that, great, but we'll cap it at 28, as long as that makes sense. And that makes sense if we have, that list, and we have Steve's
Real quotes.
very high,
Real estimate.
Yeah, we need real numbers, not just what makes people comfortable, because I'm sorry, it's better, I would rather people understand the reality of it, and explain it to them.
The reality is, we're not going to have real numbers before the town has to vote on this. That's just the way it is.
No, but we have a ballpark of real numbers. We have these estimates, and then we have that grid where we can go say, take out the curbs, save this much. Change the heating system, save this much.
Right, because those are things that those are materials. So we know the difference in those materials. The difference between cement and granite, that is a real number, and that we can subtract from the budget. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I think we need to do this, but I wanted to make sure it's based on fact. So I think next week, when we have all that information in front of us, and maybe we have the budget in front of us for our homework, we have what was just presented to us, plus the $1 million, Steve. And then we have our sheets. Maybe that's where we could, do a little work over the week and figure out where we're comfortable.
Alan?
What does the listening group think the cost should be?
They've never taken a vote per se, but the number that has come out of that group has been 25 or 26 million.
But it's not based on anything?
No.
And I heard 28 also, but.
Say that again,
Definitely
Mary?
under 30.
She said 28. She said she's
The
heard
last
28.
meeting we were at, I heard 28 million.
Right. So, I
But
guess,
again, it's not based on anything.
right. So I would say, Maria, that we should start with that list of 43, and we should cut what we think is reasonable without affecting the program. But then I think we're going to have to take a leap of faith and say, we may need another million, and it's just arbitrary.
Well, so let's talk about that next week, because I'm not comfortable with that. It's a leap of faith with the taxpayers. What happens if we go to build this building and it's $1 million over because we took a leap of faith? We're going to go back and say, we need another $1 million, or we're going to be forced to cut things that we shouldn't be cutting? You know,
The
we didn't-
architects will design something with the number that we give them. So we won't be asking for another million. Maybe we'd have to, I don't know, ask for another 100,000 if something happens, but we're not gonna ask for another
They're
million.
gonna, but, okay, but they're gonna design to a number and hope we can get the programming in there. That's what you're saying. I'm saying if we have numbers based in reality, in fact, and real numbers that grid what Steve's given us, and we can get to a point where we say, look, we're looking at $29 million. We think we can get it to 28, but we're looking at 29. I would rather say 29 and then be able to go back to the town and say, yay, we saved another $1 million.
If it worked that way, yeah, I would rather go with the 32 and say, we'll make it cheaper as we can, but we're not gonna sell that.
But it's not just about selling it, Mac. It's about being able to live up to what we're putting out to the public. It's got to be, we have to be putting forward real numbers. I don't want to we can't just sell this, because it's not fair to the community if we sell it and then it's not right.
Well,
You know.
we want it fair to the fire department. That's my bottom line. But I understand, we're not gonna solve this here, but believe me, if Mary knows, she went to our listening group and Rob was there. I've pushed back on that concept of picking a number out of the hat. Haven't I, Rob? Every meeting that someone has mentioned that number, I said, I have the same speech that you just had, Maria. But at some point, we're gonna have to
And-
decide.
That's fine. I will just
But
say.
I also,
Go ahead. Sorry, Mary, go ahead.
I also want to say that the listening group isn't unanimous on this. There
Right.
are several members who also say it should be built at designed around the price that was estimated, because they don't want to cut back. They understand you need to meet the program. So we're walking a balance here of people who are, really want to make the right investment for the long term, and people who want to have it be as inexpensive as possible. And I think we all want all of that. But we need to get to the design phase to do it in reality.
And the other thing that hopefully is going to be important to the community is we have this chart here of the difference between spending 30 million down to 24 million by 500,000 increments. If we go from $1 million, with $1 million house, going from 30 million to spend to 28 million, it'll save that taxpayer $150 or so.
A year.
Yeah, a year.
$10 a month.
So $10 a month is what it's going to save to cut $2 million out of the budget. So
That's why I was asking, what do the town people think it should cost? And if it's 28 million, the savings to the individual taxpayer is not huge.
right.
But what is their target number that they're trying to get to? And then we can see, does that even make sense based on the best estimates that Steve and Jeff and all the other experts have told us with their 50 years of experience, what this is going to cost?
For a homeowner, their house is valued at at 600,000. To go from 30 million to 28 million is less than $40 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could cut 5 million out of it and save people $100 a year. And I don't know if people are willing to
sure everybody's
sacrifice
aware
for our
of that.
fire department for $100 a year.
Exactly. I'm not sure everybody's aware of that.
And for I know you've heard a lot from the listening group, and it sounds like it was not unanimous.
It certainly was
I've
not.
also heard from the community, there's a lot of people who say, it's about the budget. There's a lot of people who say it's about the location. But there's also a lot of people I've spoken to who are not just, not just the people I know personally, but like other people who say, how are we going to do this? We need to do the best building that is the most cost efficient, that's going to be a 50-year building. And that's ultimately what we need to do. And that may mean that we're at $28 million. And if the listening group thought, 26 is the target and we can't get there, it's a larger community. There's a lot of people we're taking information from the listening group, and we're taking information from the public. But everything we do ultimately needs to be based in reality. And this is where, at the end of the day, we're going to land pretty close to this number. Because if we don't do that, then all of this is for naught, and we're going to end up in a bigger issue, have a bigger issue in 2 years when we have to go back for more money, because that's,
Maria,
so let's just,
I agree with everything you said. However, we have to get people to stand up at a town meeting and vote for whatever number it is, and then we have to ask them to go back to the polls when no one's looking and say yes or no in the privacy of the box here. They're going to have to support that. So we have to look at the big picture, I think. But would I rather do it the way you're saying? Yes, but I'm not sure we can. That's just my 2 cents. Okay.
So I know we have a busy week ahead of us we have 2 nights of town meeting and everything, but if people could do their homework and look at that grid again, that would be great to come to the 16th with that. Thank you.
And is Jeff Shaw with us here?
Jeff is with us, yes.
Jeff, we got something from, I wrote down here, Scott Turner from Fuss and O'Neill. Were you going to explain and put in context what he said to us, looking at the 4 sites?
Yes, I can do that. So Fuss and O'Neill is the engineer civil engineer that was brought on board to look at the issues selected by the committee at 1300 Mass Ave and 750 to 823, something like that. Mass Ave, the 750 site, it was the site distance, and at the 1300 site, it was the wells and the provision of a potential reuse or new well on that site. But we also asked them to consider the 4 sites that were currently before the committee: 72 Stowe Road, 502, the existing public safety building, and then the 2 sites I just mentioned. And what we originally asked them to do was to try to give us a ballpark cost analysis, because a lot of work had been done on the 2 original sites, and these new 2 sites have not had the same level of depth of engineering study, and certainly haven't had cost estimates developed. But in order to understand potentially how the 2 new sites would compare, we wanted to understand if there was a cost difference. And pretty, what we expected happen is basically, he said, I haven't done any work on 72 and 502, so I can't really comment on those costs. But he did give us a ranking of the 4 sites to understand relatively how the cost might go. And I want to preface this, of course, caveat as much as I can. This is a high level overview. It's just a paper look at these sites, and no real engineering work has gone into it. But based upon that level of conceptual understanding, he thought that 1300 would be the least expensive out of the 4, followed by 72 Stowe Road, then the existing public site, the police and fire site, and then finally the site at 750. That had more to do with the potential for ledge. Obviously no engineering work has been done there, no digging that we've done at the other 2 sites has been done there, no test borings, not really anything. So we don't know how much ledge and how much it would affect the cost. Might be a little bit, might be a lot. But that, knowing the little that he did, that's how he ranked them. So that list again is 1300 on the least expensive side, followed by 72, followed by the existing police and fire site, and at the end, the most expensive being 750.
Thank you.
So clarification, that was for site work, correct?
Yes.
Or that, not
That
the
was
overall?
strictly site.
Not the cost, no.
Yeah, I want to make sure that the public understands that. That's for site work.
Site work only.
Okay.
You know, the building is a completely separate matter.
Yep.
And, you know, may potentially be a similar cost between all 4 sites. The costs of the site are really kind of what's driving a lot of the differences, as well as things like phasing, which we've already talked about at length.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So, my notes are just summarizing a couple of things that we've been looking at. So actually, one of the things that I've learned in the last week more, that the site in the middle of the town is really 700, 750, and 800. It's all 3 of those sites is the Lions property. That's technically one site, and then 832. So again, I think it was mentioned earlier, the traffic study, we would definitely need signals there if that's what we're going to do, if we were going to put it there. And then under 1300, there have been issues about the wells, about the septic system, and about the wetlands, and all the reports that we've gotten back from those have been positive. That it looks like that there are no red flags there. So anything else about the sites?
Can we, I just want to talk a little bit about the wetlands issue at 1300, because that was raised by a resident. And so it's my understanding that it is not as severe a concern at 1300 as 502. Is that correct?
Jeff's coming on now.
Yeah, happy to answer that too. So we did ask the engineer, because of the comments that were made at a recent meeting by a resident, again, to opine on that site. I'll say the same caveats I said before in case someone just started listening, but that no engineering studies were done on the site by that consultant. It was really just a quick review at a high level. You looked at some of the soils data that you can get online, engineers have access to, and you know, type C and D soils. So you know, he felt that there was no real reason to be concerned about developing the site and the issues with the wetland being there. You know, certainly there would probably be things for the project team to design around, parameters and things like that that would have to be taken into consideration, but he didn't see anything that would jump out and say this is, you know, certainly a terrible site, don't develop it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike, I know, I just want to ask Mike, I know you were pulling information from town records about 1300, because that's the site we have the least amount of information. Did you find anything on wetlands?
I did. There's, I'm sharing right now
Can you make
from
that a
the.
little bigger?
Sure.
Thank you. Kind of zone in.
What I'm sharing on the screen right now is from the town's hazard mitigation plan that was presented and to the town and accepted by the town in April of 2024. And what this is showing is the black dots are current municipal sites or buildings, and the blue is showing areas that are within the 100-year floodplain. And so near the center of that, I've circled the 2 sites that were just discussed, and you know, to the far left is what Fuss and O'Neill opined on at 1300 Mass Ave, and then the circled site to the far right is the current police and fire station. So this is page, I think it's page 83 or 84 in the town's hazard mitigation plan. And I think this kind of corroborates what our civil engineer opined on.
Thank you.
It looks pretty significantly different.
Yeah. And from the legend, the blue is the floodplain,
Yeah, the 100-year.
the 100-year floodplain?
Yep.
Okay,
Good, yeah, thank you, Mike.
okay.
You're welcome. There was one thing that I was asked about this week, and it was about the floodplain, and someone told me that they were made aware that 502 Mass Ave is not in the 500-year floodplain, which in fact may be true, but I think what's more important is that it is in the 100-year floodplain, which means it has a higher chance statistically of flooding than if it were in the 500-year floodplain.
Priya's got her hand up.
Who is it?
Priya.
Priya?
All right. Yes, so based on what I'm seeing right now, this is the map from 2024 from the hazard mitigation plan. Jeff, can you, and also based on the soil and other things, Jeff, in your professional opinion, it is feasible to make a reasonable deduction about the floodplains and such, right?
So I'd say I think we can rely upon the work that has been done by others to identify floodplains, and that data is pretty solid. It's been out there for a long time, and it gets updated periodically. So that's what we'd be relying upon to make big, large-scale decisions. I'd also rely upon our civil engineers, who is much more of an expert in site-related matters than I am, to lean on to understand if a site is reasonable to consider for development, and they had no issues with 1300 Mass Ave. So I'm confident to rely upon their advice there. Of course, as the committee has been discussing, this doesn't mean that there would be no issues at all. There may be things we don't know about, in fact, likely will be. And so the project would have to carry some contingency to accommodate those, but that would be true at any site. And I think if we were talking about 502 specifically, a lot of time has been spent discussing the wetlands setbacks, the floodplain, and issues around groundwater there, and that those sites are literally bordering of water, not just a swampy area or a low-lying area. It's water. So I think if I were to look at the two, I'd say I'm leaning towards 1300 in terms of being more viable. And that's really just to go back to the comment that was made before about 1300 being worse than 502. And I wouldn't say that. But of course, again, we haven't done all the study that has happened on 502 yet. But it looks like right now it's fine.
Mac, just a quick point. Mike had said that this was approved by the town in 2024. I also want to note that this was reviewed by the Mass Emergency Management Agency, and MEMA has also accepted this and approved this as well. And after the review, found everything to be accurate and factual.
Great, thank you.
So less than a year old, just for record. Correct?
Say that again, Priya?
So it's less than a year old, all this.
Less than a year ago, yeah.
All these details, yeah.
And
So just
also,
for record.
wasn't this mitigation plan based on the new FEMA maps that came out?
Yes.
Right, so this is this one of those maps that came out from FEMA? Or,
This is based on the FEMA maps.
Okay.
Correct. That's what the consultant who did the hazard mitigation plan.
based it all on?
Based on.
Okay.
And to be honest, I'm not sure if they used the last FEMA plans, floodplain maps, or the new ones. I forget exactly.
I think it was the new ones, because that's how because I remember Alec talking about it
Yeah.
in multiple different meetings. I didn't, okay.
Chief?
I'm just saying, I do know it was based off of FEMA, but I'm just not sure which ones they were either, because that was a recent change in those floodplain maps.
Yeah, that was like
That-
in the beginning,
I
last year.
I thought the new floodplain maps came out
More
after
recent,
that. I
yeah.
thought they came out like in June, whereas
Okay.
this was published in April.
Okay.
But we know with those new floodplain maps that it actually got worse.
Yeah, right, okay. I just think it's important that everybody knows where all this information came from. And
Right.
it's, you know, it's on the website and it's all cited, but still, it's important that the public understand that we're just not making maps and coloring them in. This is real information coming from people that know better. So, okay.
Mike, is it feasible to add this into, like, I mean, on one of the pages, like a drop down on the left? If feasible?
On
Yeah,
our website?
On our fire station site?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole book, which is over 300 pages, I believe, it's in a couple hundred pages anyway, is on the planning board site, but I could take this one page and have it
Yes.
added to the packet for next week and up on the fire station building committee page, sure.
I think that would be
That
good.
would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
If you're all set, I'll take this down.
Yes. Now, Mary,
Yeah.
would you like to take us through the matrix work that we're going to do? And I think Mike is going to show it on the screen.
I just want to ask first if there are any other updates on the site. Maybe not, but we got some historic information on 1300. I'll be honest, I haven't read it all yet, but I don't know if others have, if anybody has any questions about any of that.
I can give you just a quick update with what's been going on this past week. So, you know, I was tasked to start negotiating with landowners at the last executive session, which I have been actively doing multiple times, many times actually, since that. And I don't have information to share, but I believe you'll be scheduled for an executive session next week, and I would assume, Mary, that you want that at the beginning of the meeting so they can use it, or you can confirm that either tonight or after, but I should have something to share with you then.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I agree. It should be at the beginning so it informs decisions we make.
Okay.
Mary, do you want me to share my screen on the matrix?
Yeah, why don't you share it, because then you can be updating and you'll
Right.
hold the master.
I'm sorry, Steve. I know we talked about you doing it, but Mike said that he would do it this afternoon, so
I'm happy to have Steve do
yes,
it.
go for it, Steve.
I will.
So while Steve brings that up, what we thought we'd do tonight is the phase one matrix. And Steve has provided us with what we've already done for 502, 72, and 700 Mass Ave. And then added columns for the 700 to 832, so that incorporates the 700 but adds that 832 property and the 1300 property. So I think we should go down those two added properties and rate them on the items, and then if we have any changes we'd make to 50272, we should do that also. But let's maybe do the first two before we...
Before you do,
the
Mary,
two new sites.
I see one change that I think needs to happen, and it's under 700 Mass Ave. I think it's 1.4 million.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, the acquisition cost?
yeah.
Yeah, just for 700.
Yeah. Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
So, and also, I would add, Mary, the reason that we have two columns, one with 750 on it, and then one with 700 to 832, the first one obviously was only if we only had 700 to 800 Mass Ave, correct?
Right, correct.
So we
So
need,
that one I think is moot. In my
Right.
mind, that one's moot because we felt it just can't work. But it's good to see the 700 column because a lot of that information can port over. In my mind, so I did it for myself, and things only got better by adding 832, except for maybe the cost. So
I mean, obviously, I've got all fives in there just as a starting point, so I didn't rate these
Right.
as all fives.
Right. So it's kind of our job to rate it. So for land acquisition at 700 to 832, so originally when Steve did the rating for land acquisition in our first draft, it was kind of either good or not good, a 5 or a 1. But now we're getting some cost differential. So for me, I started having gradation, not just a 5 or a 1. So like for me,
Do you want me to show the cost, Mary, on this? I blacked it out.
no, I don't want you to.
Okay.
Because no, I don't want you to, because we don't know that, and yes.
Right.
So we just have to estimate, what we think it's going to be, and maybe people aren't going to be ready to score it today. But so what I actually did was I went back to 72 Stowe Road and gave it a 4. 502 Mass Ave had a 5, 72 Stowe Road had a 4, and then for 700 to 832, I gave it a 2 on land acquisition, and I gave 1300 a 1.
So Mary, you're doing
like-
a 1 to 5 scale? Or
Yes.
is it
Yes,
like a?
and
oh,
5 is good,
Okay,
and 1 is the lowest, and so, yeah, and the color coding kind of follows the stoplight signal.
yeah, okay.
Right.
So those are my opinions, but I'd love to hear other people's opinions on the land acquisition.
So I'm sorry, Mary, what did you have 502 at?
I have that as a 5, because
There's
there's
no
no
cost.
cost, so that's the best scenario.
And you moved,
And I made 72 Stowe Road, so originally we had it as a 1, but when I start now looking at other properties, it's better, it's the lowest acquisition cost, even without knowing all the acquisition costs. So I gave that a 4,
okay.
and then I think 1300 is going to be the most expensive, so I gave that a 1, and then therefore I gave 700, 832 a 2.
Mary, do you want me to open up the previous sites and start changing those numbers for this matrix?
I don't know, I need to hear what the rest of the committee thinks about
Okay.
them. It's not just my opinion, people need to give their opinion.
Because I closed those columns just to make looking at the matrix easier.
Yeah,
Is it, but Mary, the only
for
thing.
now, we're just gonna go down, for now, I just want to go down these 2, but for me, for this one, it was relative to each other.
True,
And so I just wanted to explain that.
Mary, you didn't find for the others any, like, similar relation, like, between 502 and 72?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I didn't, I don't think I did.
Okay.
So what do people think about the rating for the land acquisition for 700 to 832?
I mean, I guess, that makes sense, if we gave 1 for 1300, I guess. But like, okay, so this is purely based on just the cost, right, for that one? Acquisition cost.
Correct.
No.
Right.
So
Because we,
remember, this is the phase 1 matrix.
right.
Okay.
We are later
Okay.
going to do the phase 2 matrix, but not tonight. At our next meeting, though, we're going to be doing a lot of work next week. Yeah, so this is just the acquisition cost.
Okay. I think, Mary, that makes sense if it's purely acquisition, because then if we start thinking about site work costs, then that changes it. But this is purely to acquire the property. I think this rating makes sense.
Yep.
And Alan's
Okay.
nodding his head too.
Yep, yep. Right.
Alan's
Okay,
nodding his
thank
head as
you.
well.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
a little, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alan.
I don't remember why the weighted score changes for the same attribute between the sites. Why is it more important on one site?
That's a mistake. That's a mistake. That should be a 10. Steve, for 700 to 832, the weighted score, it's for every other site. Oh.
It is.
Okay.
The weighted percent is right here.
The weight is 10.
Yes.
So, Alan, the weight is 10. When you score it a 2, then the weighted score is 20. If you score it a 5, the weighted score is 50.
All right, I get it now, after the math is done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's doing the math for you. Yeah. Sorry. All right, so sight lines, visual only. What do people have? I don't want to just say what I have. I want to hear other people.
So for 750, 832, I actually left that at a 2. Because I drove it again this morning, as a matter of fact. And I don't know that it changes much by adding, I think it allows us to put a building there easier, and we might be able to move the driveway a little bit, but I don't think it adds much to the sight lines. Because this is just sight line, visual only, and has nothing to do with signals or mitigation.
Right.
So I put that as a 2, personally, but again, I'm not an engineer, I'm just. And then 1,300, actually, a 5 seems really high, but, you know, I was kind of at a 4 or 5 because there's pretty good sight lines. Although, the 4 in my head is because I've lived in my house for 26 years, I come out on Hill Road. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a little sketchy, so I was thinking that might be more of a 4 because it's not perfect sight lines, but it's pretty good.
Especially if you're coming out of Burroughs and you try to go left.
Yes.
There's a rise in the road.
There's a little bit of a rise.
Correct, I agree with you.
So, I mean, if you're in a fire truck, you can see above the rise.
Correct.
I can see in my big Yukon, I can see, but if I'm in a smaller car, so I think that's more of a 4 for sight lines on 1,300.
I could go with a 4.
Yeah. On 1,300? What about 7?
Yes.
I'd like the 2 on 750, 832, yeah. I agree. I don't think it changes a whole lot, just it helps with the building.
Right.
And the street, and the entrance and exits, but not with the sight lines.
I thought one of the reasons we were looking at adding 832 was because it does increase the sight lines.
Well,
And we
Larry's
had a written report that
Larry's
said
thought
as long
so.
as they keep the shrubbery low and the guardrail and all of that, that it makes a huge difference. But
I
now
think
we're
the
saying
chief
no.
is not convinced of that.
And the traffic engineer wasn't convinced of that, but what it does, though, it allows you to have both separate driveways.
Yes.
By having the second property. And there was some discussion here that the committee had, started by Larry, that thinking that other property would help, but the traffic engineer didn't think so. They thought that it was going to need the mitigation of the control lights.
So the main thing it does is separate public access from fire
Yes.
department
Right.
access.
And allows the building, it allows the
Yeah, okay.
conceptual design from 72 to be placed
Right,
on it.
okay.
Yeah, so.
I will say I gave it the same rating Maria did, a 2 and a 4 for sightlines, yes. So I think there's agreement there. The next one, test fit lot size.
Somebody else want to go first? I don't need to go first.
The lot size of both, these
Yeah.
last 2 are fine, I think. Aren't they?
So I think the test fit is fine and the lot size is fine for both. However, I think from putting a building on space, I think 1,300 offers us a little bit more flexibility. But I think that if we're just looking at, can we put this, test fit this building here, then I think they would be equal. I just think if you're looking, I don't know where that flexibility, if that would weigh into this at all. I think 1,300 is slightly better because of the flexibility.
I think we could give them both 5s, but I would not argue with you on the 4 for that one. But I think the lot size would be fine.
Yeah, and again, this is not a hill I would die on either. That was just my thought.
Yeah, I had a 4 and a 5 because it is tighter on the 700, 832. So you don't have as much flexibility if you need to tweak something in the actual design phase. 500, I think, is going to give you a lot of flexibility.
I think the next one is a 5, right? There's no swing space.
Yeah,
Right. I agree for both of those.
yeah.
Supports program dual access.
I think 4 and 5, I go back to that same thing with the flexibility, but I'm not sure I'm supposed to be adding that in there, that's just in my head.
Yeah, I mean, we showed you could put the same 72 Stowe Road building on just 700. So, and that has the full program. So I gave them both 5.
That's fine with me,
It's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Not hearing a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
yeah, Alan said he's okay,
Yeah.
Joe.
Okay. Topographics, wetlands, streams.
So this is a little more difficult for me because I don't really know. I know 700 had wetland issues. I don't really know how 832 plays into that, but I don't know that it changes it very much, right? Because it's in it, but I haven't seen a map that included the 832. So I almost feel like that's still a 2. And, you know, I think 1300 in my mind is more of a 4, but based on what we've seen tonight with the floodplain, the 100-year flood, and some of the topographical maps that we've seen on the wetlands, but that's just me.
I can say on 832, we have not been granted access onto the site, so we haven't been allowed to have engineers or anyone on the site. I've been in the driveway to talk to the owner, and I can see that in the back it dips down, but I
You don't know
can't.
what's down there?
No, I don't, so I
Yeah.
can't tell if it's wetland. I couldn't say that it is, whereas we've been all over 1300 because we've been granted access to do studies there.
Aren't there some issues with well perimeters on 750?
750, yeah.
There's definitely wellhead
Yeah, and
protections, but
there was a riverfront too. There's definitely wetlands on the 700 piece, and I think because of the way we fit the building, it's still a concern. And then you potentially have ledge issues on the 700, 832. So I also kept that at a 2,
Yep.
and I had 500 as a 4. Yeah.
I think that
I
works.
agree with that.
That works.
That's good with me.
Okay. Site history.
So we didn't have a lot of history on 700. Do we have any more on 832? Or is it just,
The only history we have is, I understand it was a restaurant at one point. It's now a residential, one-family home.
832 was a restaurant?
It was a diner. Alan remembers.
Really? How long ago was that?
A long time ago.
That's why it's
That's why the house
facing.
is-
That's why it goes that
Yeah.
way. Well, that's interesting. I always wondered why they built the house that way.
Yeah.
Wow, I never
And
knew
then
that.
on 1300, I shared with you the history that I found as far as, hazardous materials, septic easements, and all that. Everything I found, I shared with you this week, and we'll put it in. It was too late to get in the packet, but I'll put it in next week's packet.
So again, without any updated numbers or history, I think you go with a 3 at 750, 832. And then 4 at 1300, although some of that stuff you sent was a little bit old, but, if, I think we're pretty confident that it's, the site's clean and that kind of stuff, and we have,
Yeah.
We know that 1300 was just sold a couple of years ago, so that there
It
was.
was two
Right.
years
Must have been.
ago.
Yeah.
The phase 1 was done 2 years ago. The review of the Title V was done almost 2.5 years
Yeah.
ago. So that was all recent, even though the latest thing they had for hazardous materials was 1985.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, and it was a complete cleanup.
Right, right.
No.
So, 3.
Yeah, so I was similar. I had a 3 and a 4.
Yep.
just because some of it, the material was a little dated, but, yeah.
And you rated 1,300 a 4, why, Mary, again?
It just because some of the information was a little dated, and so I was like, oh, are we going to find something we're not expecting?
Mary, by dated, do you mean 2.5 years old, or do you mean the stuff that goes back to 1985?
No, the stuff that goes back to 1985, yeah.
Because when it was
old.
When it was sold 2.5 years ago, the planning department and the Board of Health reviewed, and the most recent they found was back to 1985. So that was a recent study when the property sold, and they also inspected the Title V at that time as well.
And that was cleaned up successfully, right?
It was.
Yeah, and Mary, if it sold 2 years ago, the assumption is there's some bank loan on it, and we haven't seen any remediation on the property. They wouldn't have gotten a loan if the property had some kind of hazardous waste on it. So we can assume that that's fairly clean.
So
but I still think a 4 is the way to go with that.
Should we make that a 5? Oh, okay.
I don't know. What does everyone else think?
Why do you think that?
The only thing is that we haven't really had civil engineers study that.
Right, so that's why I think
That's why I
a
like a
4 is.
4.
Yeah, 4 is better, because
Yeah.
our people haven't looked at it, and we
Okay.
can't, you know,
Plus, we don't know a whole lot about the piece of property across the street that this connects to.
yeah.
We don't really know much other than there's a leach field there. Well, did they ever put stuff down the drain that ended up in a leach field that shouldn't be there? We don't know.
Well, if they had a Title V a couple of years ago.
Yeah, did they sample that, looking for hazardous material?
If they would have.
Title V is mainly
So
for the performance of
That's
the leach
for the
field.
septic, right? But if, in order to go forward with any type of bank financing,
Yeah.
you need a 21E. So
Yeah.
there was either a 21E done then, or it was done by the previous owner, and there would have been, at a minimum, a 21E light, right? But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is a loan on the property, so that had to have had some type of,
We haven't seen any record of a 21E, have we, Mike?
no, because that's not public record. So,
I think a 4 is fine, just because we really don't have definitive
Yeah, I agree.
engineering recently.
And to be fair, 832 sold at that same time, 2.5 years ago, so it would have passed its Title V then. I don't know about the history on the other parts, 700, 750 to 800. But we do know that 832 sold around the same time as 1300.
Okay.
Okay, Mary?
All right. Proximity of neighbors is the next one. So the 700, 832, it does sit in front of the enclave. So it has the same abutters as 72 Stowe Road, plus the abutters that are on the side. And then we have 1300, which doesn't really have neighborhood abutters.
So the difference, though, I think, between 72 Stowe Road and 750 is that the trucks aren't coming out toward them.
they're not coming out toward 172.
True.
They're coming out to
Well-
they're coming out to an abandoned house.
Well,
even
it's
on it.
sort of coming in that direction, and so I think I would think if I lived at Enclave, that would be considered differently.
We
Yeah,
have,
I-
go ahead, Mary, I'm sorry.
Mary?
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's different. I haven't heard people say they're concerned about it. But last time we gave it a 4 because I think, we gave it a 4. So I think I would keep it at a 4 because there is a slight issue with neighbors, and to me, the 1300 would be a 5.
Yeah, I agree. If 700 was a 4, then this should be a 4.
Exactly.
Yep,
For sure, yep.
that's fine.
And the 5 is good for
1300.
1300.
Yep.
Then we have long-range town planning master plan.
I think that remains a 5, right? Because this is in the master plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I think they're both 5. Then we have permitting.
So until
This would be atypical.
so,
Yeah.
hopefully on Tuesday, if we get zoning, Article 2 will address why that was a 1. So that's either, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
Article 2 passes, this goes up. If Article 2 doesn't pass, we're still at a 1 on the 750, 832.
So right now it's
Yeah.
a 1.
Right now, it's a 1, but that could change, on Tuesday night, but we don't know that yet.
But over at 1300, it's a 5, because it
But there's-
already is.
There's no opposition to that, though, really, is there?
Mac, I've gotten through this process, I've gotten a little jaded. I don't even try to guess anymore on what's gonna pass and
Yeah,
whatnot.
no.
I assume there's no opposition, but I don't know if somebody's gonna stand up and say, no, I want town center to be X. So I don't even guess anymore.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you got
I
DOT.
think,
Say again?
yeah, there's DOT. So
You got DOT.
there,
So it-
DOT is part of this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's going to keep 700, 832 lower. And for me, to me, all the sites need some DOT. So I made 500 a 4. I made 1,300 a 4. And I had 700. I kept it at the 1, but you're right, Maria, we could revisit that next week.
Okay.
But if you think it's a 5, go ahead and put your view forward.
I think 4 is fine.
I think 4 is fine, too.
Yep.
I have a question for Steve. When he says atypical, is that not including special permit? Like, are you talking about just a variance as far as special permitting?
Well, I'm talking, you generally going to go through planning, you're going to go through Concom. You don't always go through Mass DOT. So that's sort of where I come up with atypical, and then, you guys have some other things that we didn't anticipate originally but have come up.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to municipal presence / visibility.
I think we'd have the most visibility at 1,300. The 750 kind of goes down away from this main street, but it'll be pretty visible there also, I guess.
I think they're 5s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
I
of them.
thought, yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
I agree, yeah. And then available utilities.
Again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Is there different utilities coming in? There's obviously utilities for the house that's there, but if we're putting in a fire station, I assume there's different utilities.
Well, remember, what we're really interested probably is electricity. We're not going to use fossil fuels,
Okay,
right?
So-
We'll have a tank for an emergency generator diesel supply, I'm thinking. But that's it. We're not going to run gas to the fire station, I wouldn't think,
well, I
because
don't,
we're trying to be sustainable and green.
we are, but is that part of what's basic, or are we waiting on this again until, is that
Yeah.
part of the basic building code, or is that like the additional $1 million to be non-fossil fuel? I don't know.
I think
I'm happy
that's-
to jump in
Jeff's
just
gonna
because
jump
you're talking about building code things. So the energy codes that we'd be required to follow make it very difficult for us to install gas and use gas-fired appliances. And I think the town, just in general, from a sustainability perspective, would prefer to not be fossil fuel based. Now, we are making a distinction here between what's base code in terms of, in order to get a permit, you need to do the minimum of these certain things, and what would be nice to have and maybe cost additional money. So it technically is feasible to use gas in the building, but it is very difficult to find a pathway for these buildings to do that. So my opinion and recommendation is that you assume there would be no natural gas line to the building for the powering the building itself. It would be all electric. And what you're really looking at here are things like septic waste, basically waste and water. Is there a well needed, or is there a septic system needed? And just about every site in town is going to have the requirement for those.
And fiber.
Right, yeah, correct, thanks, Steve. So other utilities like internet and radio, things like that, but everything's coming in on fiber, so access to where those lines are located, which generally is mess up.
But Jeff, my question is, as a layperson, there's a building at 1300. So does that mean the utilities are already there? Does that mean it's easier to pull utilities than a house at 832? If you say no, it's no. If you say yes, I mean, I would defer to you, but I'm just trying to understand if having a building there and knowing all the utilities are already to that building, a commercial building, and we have a well, we have two wells, we know that one can be used if it's not a public water supply, so the well's already there, right? We don't have to dig a well for 1300, is that correct? Kind of. I understand it was like kind of high level,
Well,
but I'm just trying to understand that.
so the problem is that we haven't done any real work on 1300, so I couldn't say to you conclusively that we can reuse the well, although it's potentially possible to do that. That's what the engineer said. And I couldn't say conclusively that we can reuse the utility connections the building already has, although I'd have to say, given the size of the building, they probably already have things like three-phase power, and the amperage draw is probably more than what the fire station will need. So, just anecdotally, I think at 1300 probably is already supplied with the types of things we would need for a fire station building. But then there would also be costs to essentially transition from what it has now to what we need for our building. And a residential house location, that those services wouldn't be sufficient for the most part for a fire station, so we'd be looking to augment or add more services. So it's kind of splitting the difference between the two.
Don't forget, we didn't weight this very heavily either.
Yeah, this is also the least amount of percentage points of the entire chart.
If a 4 and a 5 doesn't make too much of a difference in the scoring. But we want to be accurate.
I gave them both 4s, assuming we would need new wells and septics until such time as we find that's not true. But for now, I kept it. I made them at 4.
Both of them 4s.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Because
I have a question. Where did the issue about the radios and the antenna, did that fall under some other category? I know that's
That was
not.
round 2, Mac.
The next one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, thank you. Because I know that was an issue at 72 Stowe Road.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I've lost track of how,
let me just
Hold on, Mary. Alan has a
I'm
question.
sorry, how are we rating these? What are the numbers again?
4, both 4s.
But we're relying on the fact that because there's a house on 800, that the septic and the well would be enough for a fire station? Is that what we're saying? That's why we're giving it such a high number? There's no septic there at all for the fire station. It's a residential septic.
Well, that's utilities we're talking about,
No, that includes septic. This includes
It
septic.
includes septic.
yeah?
on the other sites, when we said when we said needs a new well and septic, we gave it a 4. So I carried that logic through.
Because we don't know 1300. We kind of know 1300. We think we don't need a well, but we don't know that for sure.
No, I agree, but we know on 700, 832,
Right.
we definitely need a well and we definitely need a septic.
Right, but 700 was rated a 4, so we've
Okay.
already
And there's
rated
some
that
concern
4.
that there's ledge there at 750, right?
Yeah.
So that could affect the
Well, that's what I'm
septic.
saying.
That could affect septic. I mean, maybe that's
We
a
can leave it at
grade.
4 for now.
I
We
mean-
can always update it when we get more information.
Yeah, I think maybe that should be
There's
a
not
3.
much of a difference between these
If you look at the
ratings that
scores.
mean anything.
What do you think, Steve?
I mean, I know it's good to be as accurate as possible. And right now, if we look at the scores, I mean, 1300
Blowing out.
is way up there.
I can't see it.
So the score right now with the 2 4s, 750, 832 is 327, and 1300 is 396.
Right.
So it really doesn't matter if we rate one a 3 and one a 4 at this point. Because that's not really,
Making a
that's,
difference.
the
It's
weight
not
on
heavily
that is
weighted,
not
yeah.
heavily,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not heavily weighted, so. Okay.
How
All
does
right,
that,
so before we move off this, did anyone else change any of the scores for 502-72 or 502 Mass Ave or 72 Stowe Road based on this exercise?
No, although what you said about the cost makes sense to me now. I guess I was just thinking we've already
The
scored
land
those.
acquisition?
So when I looked at them at home, I wasn't even thinking we should rescore them. We've talked these to death, right? But I guess the scoring on the cost, I'm okay with changing those based on what we know about the other properties.
So Mary, what did you
What do
make
others
72
think?
again?
I made it a 4.
Okay,
So 502 was a 5 because that's the best.
right.
And then 72 is second best. And then I had 1300 as a 1, the lowest, but 700, 832, I gave a 2. I thought it was a little better.
so Steve, will you send that to us when you can?
And you want me to make that, does everybody agree to make the change on
Oh,
land
right,
acquisition for 72 from a 1 to a 4?
right. We did agree that we would think about that.
Alan and I are, yes, Alan's nodding his head, which makes it hard for Mary to
Priya's
see
nodding
you.
hers.
I just did it, so it's done.
Okay.
So
Okay, so
interesting
here's-
that the scoring's 72, 392, 1300, 396.
Yeah,
Okay.
so right now,
Good.
1,300 scoring the highest.
Yes.
So, right, 502 is 371.
72.
72 is 392. 700 is 297. And then you know what the other two are.
327.
Yep.
And
What was 502?
502
Whatever.
was 371.
So,
So, I'm
can
sorry.
we, go ahead, Alan.
But
Go
I'm
ahead.
just thinking to myself, to make sense of this, we have to figure out, if, just looking at the numbers as a decision maker, what is a significant difference between these? And how do you interpret which site is the best based solely on these numbers and nothing else? And I don't, what would the difference between the numbers have to be before you get an aha moment? Because the numbers are pretty darn close,
Right.
I think. But what does everybody else think?
Well, I think Stowe Road and 1,300 are close. I'm not sure, 502, I think, has got a higher score because the 5 on the top line, frankly. And what's the second line? Can you move it over so I can see what the,
Sightlines.
oh, sight
Sight
lines,
lines.
sight lines, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
sightline visual,
Right,
yeah.
but there's other issues that we have found on that.
Yeah, so remember there's the phase 2
Right.
round.
Right,
And so
I think you have to combine the
that,
two.
like what we used this before, used this for last time was what sites to move forward. But I think this time we need to take this data and then do the site 2 and then weigh all of that together. And so I'm not sure we come out with any kind of answers tonight. And I think for next week, everyone needs to do their homework on the phase 2, and we quickly revisit this for anything based on votes. Like things could get better for 700, 832 if the dimensional zoning passes, for example.
Yeah, make the changes on this that are affected by town meeting. Right, because 72 Stowe
Correct.
Road could go bad really quickly. And 502, because if we
Right,
don't vote
exactly.
residential, we can't build on either one of
Yep.
those locations. So,
Mary,
Right,
if
so-
I
yeah.
could for a
becomes
second,
obvious, 13.
don't forget the round 2, we had reports and data.
I know, I know.
That we were incorporating.
I know, but
Okay. I think it's gonna be a hard
we
task to
need-
try and figure.
it's going to be a hard task, but we need to pick sites.
Okay.
And we are gonna pick sites without all of that. We don't have the time or the money. It's maybe a little scary, but so we have to see what happens at town meeting next week and then revisit all of this.
It's what you'd expect. Essentially the same.
Okay.
So those are two of our bigger tasks. So the Phase 2 matrix next week, and kind of discuss a bottom line next week.
Yes. Yes. And we're doing a lot next week. We might.
Mary, we have executive
Talk about-
session. Should we start earlier for the executive session? If we have that much, could we start at either 6:30 or 6:45? I don't know if anyone else can make that. I'm sorry, no.
5:45?
No, I don't think we need an hour in executive session. I think, 15 or 20 minutes, just so that we can start this meeting closer to 7, rather than starting with executive session at 7 and eating a half an hour.
Thinking of the meeting at town meeting.
Yeah. I don't know, if everyone else can make those times, I don't know.
How about you, Priya? Can you come a little earlier?
Currently, I'm guessing yes, but again, yeah, let's plan for it.
Okay.
6:30?
Yeah.
What do you think,
I
Mike?
can
Is
do
that
6:30,
okay?
yeah.
Okay,
As
It's
long
next
as,
Thursday.
next Thursday.
All right, so we'll plan on 6:30 for the executive session and try to start this meeting as close to 7 as we can.
So wait a minute, we then need to post this meeting as to follow. Our meeting, we're gonna open session at 6:30. And then, so post the meeting for 6:30,
right.
right? So then we can just go immediately, because if we're done at 6:35,
Right.
which won't happen, we can
Right.
start this meeting at 6:35.
Okay. Thank you.
Executive session.
Okay, what's next?
Just,
Public outreach?
yeah, I'm just trying
Oh,
to,
public outreach, do you want me to
Get
talk
this-
about that while you're doing that?
yep.
Okay. So we met, and Priya, feel free to step in. We've made updates to the website. We're going to add, I don't know if the table, Mike,
It's on the
it's on
website.
there now? Okay. That was the only thing I wasn't sure about. So we'll continue to put stuff on the website. That's ever changing, and so it's really important that people check the website regularly. We meet every Friday, and if there's any new information during the week, we make sure we reach out to Rajon and get it posted. So we have a lot of the stuff from our fall town meeting fair, we got up and posted on the website. Let's see, the next thing that we're looking to do is Village Day, which is October 18th with a rain date of October 25th. And that's the EDC is doing that. Does everybody know what the Village Day is?
No? Oh, yes, I guess I know.
I'm
About the
sorry?
walking.
Diwali was next on Sunday.
Diwali is on Sunday, but we're not doing anything there formal. So,
I was asked to bring the tents, that's why I was just making sure.
okay, well, that wasn't part of our outreach. So, but, maybe Priya can talk to that. Let me just finish on Village. So, EDC is putting this on, and it's gonna be a walking day. So it's gonna start down at the Middlesex Bank Plaza with the businesses down there, and then people are gonna walk up, and we're gonna do a tent there, and the chief is we're gonna use the fire department tent. We don't know where the tent's gonna be yet, and Mary's gonna fill out the paperwork. And Mary, do you have the time on that? Is it,
No, I was trying to look it up, but my computer can't bring up the town website while I'm on Zoom.
I wanna say,
So I'll see if I can pull it up on my
okay, so I
phone.
wanna say it's like 11 to
4, is it?
4, I think.
so.
What is the date of that?
So we are gonna need everyone on the committee to be able to
What
fill in. I can be there in the morning, but I have an event that I have to leave for. On the 25th, I can't be there at all on the rain date because I have a wedding that day. So we're gonna send out a Google Sheet. We're probably gonna wait till after town meeting because there's a lot going on right now. And I'm sure nobody needs one more thing to do for the Fire Station Building Committee. So we'll wait until next week. We'll send out a Google Sheet with times. And we're going to use, because a lot of the information we had for that fair, the town meeting fair, with the exception of the articles for town meeting, we are going to use a lot of that. And we'll have a better idea of where, through the zoning of what we're looking at. So if we have to hone some of the information, we'll do that. But I think I just got the time sent to me.
It's 11:30 to 4 o'clock.
11,
Okay, 11:30
Yeah.
to 4 o'clock.
Yep.
I will note that graphic is so big, it's really hard to pull up the town website right now. On every device for the past couple days, I've been struggling.
Oh, the graphic for the Village Day?
Yes,
Okay.
it's like huge when you pull it up on your website, on your computer.
So we're gonna need setup and breakdown, and then people kind of manning the booth. I'm not entirely sure where we're gonna be, but the other thing we talked about, Mary, I think we wanted to run this by the committee, is we have the locations, so we were thinking about taking, orange cones, if we can get the permission of the people whose land we don't own, orange cones with balloons.
Yeah.
And put it at the fire station, put it down where the exit or the apparatus exit would be, entrance would be on 72 Stowe Road with the balloons.
Yeah.
And then 750, 832 if we can get permission, and then 1300 if we can get permission. Because part of the Village Day is also gonna be, go up to Bravo Pizza, and, they're up the street, so people can drive up there. So we'll have those, and then, we can point out that where those cones are, the potential for
Where the
sites.
balloons are, yeah.
Now, that may change, and we may only have, 2 potential sites, so a lot of it's based on that. But assuming we get all 4, does that sound like something that's a good
I
idea?
think it's a great idea.
Okay, so I need to work and see
Yeah.
if DPW has 4 cones. Like, traffic cones, I don't have traffic cones. Oh, you do?
We have cones.
Okay, so if we get balloons, all right, we can chat offline, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, so.
And Maria, you might do some balloons at our table, and it's like a legend almost to say, okay.
Yeah, that's what
As you go down the street.
Yeah, like, I don't know, we'll
Yeah.
find out how much Mylar fire truck balloons are. Maybe we could do like a fire truck balloon on each one or something, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
oh, that's a cute idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that would be, so, and then,
Yeah.
I don't, it's not like Fair Day, we don't need to have stuff for kids and kind of, people are just gonna be walking, so, and I don't know where we'll be.
Well, that site that's 700 or whatever, 832.
Yeah.
People might be tempted to walk there. And we don't have permission to have people walk on that private
We do
property.
not.
Do we, Mike? So
We don't.
we need to make sure people can stand on the other side of the road and see the site, but they ought not walk on it. Same thing with 1300.
I don't think that so my feeling is it's not gonna be like on a map that says walk to this location. I don't know, I guess we would have to,
Right.
maybe Mary, when you fill out the paperwork, you could talk to Abby about how they're gonna do it. I was just thinking that if people stop by our booth, we could say, oh, we have the cones up at the 4 different
Yeah.
locations we're
Yeah.
looking at. If you drive by.
Look at it when you drive by.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, because no one should be walking on that part
But
of
Mass
the
Ave is
site,
crazy.
they
Who
could
wants to
go
walk up Mass Ave? That's
Right? The
crazy.
72
Yeah.
site, they could go on, that's town property.
They
I
could if
think
they wanted to.
There's just
our
nowhere to
marked
park.
buses are
Right.
taking down.
Right, but you can see it. I mean, it's so close to
Yeah.
the corner.
Yeah, that's the
That
point.
literally, if you put the cone there, you can see how close it is to the
That's
corner.
the point. So
Yeah.
people can see how close the
Yeah.
entrance would be to the intersection.
Yep, and
Not-
where the other properties are, because there are people who, I try to explain the 750,
Yeah.
832, and it's like, it's
They have
the
a lot of
abandoned
trouble
blue
with that
house.
one.
It's the blue house that's on its side, and then I'm like, it's the road that goes, the construction road. They're like, oh, the construction road.
Yeah, right.
So, you know what I mean?
Back entrance
That
to
way
the-
people just know. And that really, right now, that's all we have going. And then, we'll figure out, whatever we have to do leading up to town meeting, if we want to do some more listening sessions with people, /forums, if we want to do a town meeting fair type thing, I don't know, we'll talk about that after this town meeting.
I think we felt pretty good about last Monday's
We did.
session, and we talked with a lot of people
That was,
about the town meeting and about the fire station.
right, so we could do something like that. I don't know, is the select board gonna add anything to the December warrant? Do we know? Like, do they have placeholders for anything, or is it truly gonna be just the fire station?
Not that I know of at this point.
Okay, so we could do something small scale, we could probably even do it here in the Grange, for the, special town meeting, and just have it be all about the fire station. Same kind of thing, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, Alex did a really good job getting the information out. So we could ask him to work with us, maybe,
Yeah.
to help us put that together. So, but I think we're gonna get through this town
Yeah.
meeting. I think a lot of us are tired. This outreach is,
Yeah,
it's exhausting. I think that when I signed up for outreach, I didn't realize that I was gonna be doing outreach for this many months on end. Priya feels the same way, and I'm sure Sarah does too, because we're expending a lot of energy on zoning, which I didn't think we were gonna need to do. I thought we were gonna be educating people on designing and building a building.
Right.
So, there's a bunch of us that are tired, so we don't wanna think beyond Village Day right now.
Well, thank you for
yeah.
all you're doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Priya, that's it? Everything else? Did I get everything?
Yes. I think, we talked about Diwali Fest, but I think one of the things that we, noticed in the past couple of years is that majority of the folks that come there are from all over, Metro West. It's not a whole lot of Boxborough folks there. So we kind of felt almost like the freebie market, right? Again, there's not a whole lot of Boxborough folks there. So,
Yeah.
we're not really, doing that this year.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have to approve the September 11th minutes. We sent that back there were a couple of additions that were made to that. So I'll take first of all, I guess, any more suggestions on the September 11th?
I want to make sure, is what we got supposedly the ones that were changed?
Yes,
Okay, because I
Was
didn't
it?
see anything changed.
yeah.
So
well,
for instance, on the 11th one, that was the one where we all agreed that Larry was remote, but it doesn't say that Larry was remote. So I don't think that
Okay.
change was made. And then at the top of page 2, we said we were going to change wherever it said 19 people to 25, because that's the definition of a
Right,
Oh, public
public.
water, yep.
But yet it still says 19. So
we-
I'm not
were
sure
these
we
the
got an
wrong ones?
updated version, or else we asked the person to wait to see if there were any other edits before making any.
well, I had asked that there would be some mention of us talking about the 43 items. She listed everything that I mentioned. I didn't mean it, but that's in there.
Okay, so the changes that we talked about before the additions weren't made necessarily, because they're still in here.
So state those specifically now, and we will vote it as amended.
Right. So go through your changes that
Okay.
aren't in there,
So
starting with the.
we already talked about Larry was remote, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say. And then at the top of page
So
2,
that's on, let's just wait, hold a minute, just to be clear for the person doing the minutes. On page 2 in the middle, Mr. Grossman joined the meeting at 7:35
Yeah, it
PM
says that.
remotely.
Right, but it doesn't, this is actually where we list the attendance at the top of the meeting.
Oh, but I think we want to add remotely to that statement
I've just added it to both
on
places.
page 2. Okay, and then at the top, okay.
Yeah, so there
Go ahead,
and there.
Alan.
right, this is what the giveaway is, that it's
Right.
not at the top of the meeting.
Right.
But, okay. Now, at the top of page 2, it still says 19 people per day in the definition of a private water supply,
Right,
but it's supposed to say 25 in 2 places. And that was confirmed by
Okay, so on
the gentleman that was, I think Mr. Turner, along the way said something, and then Jeff agreed with him that it's supposed to be 25.
Yeah,
Right.
we had that conversation last week, I remember that.
So it's the second line on page 2 and the 7th line on page 2.
Right.
yes,
Yeah, wherever it says 19. Oh, it also, in that second line down, Mary, it says over 19 people. It's not over 25, it's up to 25. See how it says over 19?
Got it.
It should be up to
Right.
25, not over
Right,
25.
Up to 25 people. right.
Up to
3
25.
days. Yep.
Okay. Then 2 more
Yeah.
paragraphs down, the big paragraph, right in the center, it says the zoning at 502 Mass Ave is a pro, but it doesn't say, why is it a pro? I thought it was a con. It's a pro why? Did we determine because one of our lawyers said there might not be a zoning issue after all?
Well, yes, because somebody said it could be built there because of the, what is the term, the past,
The pre-existing
pre-existing
non-conforming?
Pre-existing
non-conforming.
non-conforming.
Do we
Right.
need to put that in, or is that just understood? I'm not sure we actually said that during the meeting.
I actually don't think that concept is fully understood, because it's a little bit,
Okay.
lots of opinions on that. So are we going to leave it like that? That's the question that Alan is posing?
It's important to some people in town that that's true.
But
But we're not saying why we think or why we know it's true.
I can't imagine she just made that up.
Well, I know,
You know,
so somebody said it, but
Well,
So we'd have to go, if we are going to be more specific, then we shouldn't vote these minutes and we should listen to the tape and correct it that way. So we have to decide, do we want to do that or do we want to leave it as is? Because we can't add words we're not sure about.
right.
But we can't have a sentence that just ends without an explanation either, so.
Okay, then we will fix these minutes. So what else do you have, Alan? We're not going to vote these tonight. We're going to take all these and do it one more time.
that's, what's this? Okay, on the next page 3 at the very bottom, bullet number 29. It talks about replacing the top of the apparatus bay with sheetrock, and that this is a reasonable idea. But I'm not part of these meetings, but to me, the sentence makes no sense, because the top of the apparatus bay is unfinished space anyway, with a bunch of HVAC stuff up in there and what have you. What's being replaced with sheetrock?
It's the wall.
Number 20,
There's a certain finish at the lower part of the wall. I think they call it a CMU. And then after a certain height, you
Okay.
could go to sheetrock.
I think we need to say replacing the top of the wall of the apparatus bay. This makes it sound like the ceiling.
Okay?
the
Yeah,
actual term
okay.
was
Mary, you were correct on what you just said.
reduce height of interior CMU is what,
Yeah, that's not what this says, though.
Right, so that just needs to be expanded to what
Right.
Alan just said.
Right.
Are
It's
you-
the wall.
Got it.
well, that's actually, it says
Yeah, the
replace,
top of the wall.
replace the
apparatus.
apparatus room CMU above 14 feet with drywall in
That's
the apparatus
exactly what
room.
this needs to say, and that's not what it says in the minutes, Mac.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
So
Yeah.
Mike, what it says in the grid is what
Is
it
correct.
should say
Right.
in the minutes.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's just one set of minutes.
That's all right.
So,
Okay, so we're
gotta
not
be
voting
right.
that tonight.
I guess we can either vote it as amended and assume it's going to be,
We don't know
or,
about that
No,
one
but there's a
sentence.
hole in it. We can't vote it. as
Okay,
amended
well-
Because we don't know what to put in for that particular part. I will
okay.
do my best to watch the recording.
All right, let's tackle the September 25th minutes. Any corrections?
So far, so good. There's not a lot of red on this
I
one.
have one thing here.
Okay. Where is it, Alan?
Oh, I guess no, there's nothing wrong with the minutes. It's a question that I wanted answered, and it already has been, about having a table during where we talk about.
Wow, all right. So,
No errors found.
Okay,
Make a
do we
motion.
hear a motion to accept the minutes of September 25th?
so-
As so moved.
Alan
and I'll
moved,
second it.
and Maria second.
We're so excited. Alan had a whole set of minutes with no edits.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, Mary,
Mike, Pearl and I.
Priya,
Sundaram, aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Maria?
Neil and I.
Mac, aye. Okay. We survived the minutes.
We love you, Alan. You
Tough.
keep us honest.
Any updates, Mike?
I don't have any at this time.
Steve, do you have any other updates?
I do not, Max, thank you.
Okay. Chief? All right. Time for public input. Anybody in the room like to share anything?
Okay, we have John's iPad first.
Okay, John's iPad?
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Just, you should be able to unmute, there we go.
Yeah, it's John. Hi, it's John Markowitz.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll be brief. I know you want to get out of there. Thanks for a very good meeting. The question I had is the document that Mary read, which I believe was Sarah's notes.
Yes.
Is that available? I thought that was a great document.
If it wasn't in the packet, it'll be in the packet
So
next
how can
week.
I
No,
get
wait
a
a
copy
minute,
of that?
Yeah,
What?
we can add it to the packet.
We don't have it, yeah, okay, it's just notes, okay.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
good point, John.
Yep.
Anything else, John?
This is fine. Nope, okay, so
No?
Mark Barbadero's next.
Okay, Mark?
Thanks, Mac.
No, I'm all set, thanks.
Ms. Hellcat.
Thank you
Just
very much.
wanted to point out that you guys were mentioning a flood map from the flood mitigation study. That map does not show the A zones surrounding 1300 Mass Ave, in fact, on the property itself. So I just wanted to point out that, you know, if you're basing your opinion on the flood zone, you should at least, instead of using a flood mitigation study created by Boxborough, use the actual FEMA flood map. I guess my understanding is, after looking at it a little bit, it appears that the flood zone that is shown on that map is the AE zone, but the A zone is not shown at all. So the difference between the two is AE zones are flood mapped for elevation, and A zones, they have not done that yet. So when you have a flood zone, it's still in the 100-year flood zone, and that's on the property at 1300. It's still a flood zone. It's just when you don't map the actual elevation, you presume 2 feet of sheet flow across the surface of the ground. So that's why I was telling you guys I was confused last meeting that you're so interested in this property and so afraid of 502, when 502's BFE is 6 feet below the slab. And at this site, 2 feet above grade is 2 feet above grade, and it's on the property. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then the other concern I have is I've mentioned this a few times now, there's an interim wellhead protection area on 72 Stowe Road. And that area is right where the building is sited. That was done to mitigate the nuisance of having noise and lights and other things at 72 Stowe Road impacting Sheriff's Meadow and Tisbury Meadow. And that would require a cut into the ground, the final grade, that would bring the final grade to below 4 feet of the seasonal seasonal high groundwater area. In my opinion, I haven't heard anyone mention that at any of these meetings. I have heard rumors that Jeff said he thinks it'll work. Well, I personally like to have more information than that. And so the listening group actually informed Mac and Mary, I know they remember this, that we told them that the listening group would like to see more information brought forward for these sites before you go rating them and grading them when you don't really know a lot about 1300. In fact, you didn't even know it had a flood zone on it, apparently. And you're rushing to grade them all for a deadline. And so I'm asking you to just really be careful with what you do. and don't overpromise things that can't be delivered at 72 Stowe Road. You know, think carefully about where you're going with this, because credibility matters. Thanks.
Okay, as you know, Mark,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Which, John?
Mark.
You can respond to me.
No, Mark, yeah, no, it's not, it's not to debate. We are aware of the Zone A and the Zone AE, and when you do look at the most recent FEMA flood map, which I'm on FEMA.gov right now, you are correct, they are near it, but 1300 is not in it. It might be around it, but it is not in either one of those zones. No, we are aware of those maps, we have those maps. Again, all of those mitigation plans were done based off of those maps, just so you're aware.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, I would also mention, obviously, we've spent a lot of money on 502 and 72 and found issues with them, and so we started looking at other sites, and we don't have the same resources to do the same research on 1300 and 750 that we had on those first two. That's just a matter of fact. So we're doing the best we can and getting as much information as we can before we have to make our decision.
Okay, Cindy Markowitz.
Anybody else?
Yes, Cindy Markowitz.
Cindy?
Yeah, hi guys. I also wanted to point out the issue with the flood map. For some reason, the hazard mitigation plan only shows the AE zones, does not show the A zones. Both A and AE are the 100-year flood areas. So again, you know, the concern that you were kind of going off on with an assumption there that hadn't been fully vetted, that concerns me. It's really important that you get your information correctly, and you know, it's unfortunate that the map that's included in the hazard mitigation plan didn't identify that they only identified AE, not the A, but both are 100-year flood. As Mark explained, one has base elevation and the other is assumed. So, but they are both representative of the 100-year flood. So, just please be careful with your facts. And the other question I had is, when you were doing the matrix this time, I didn't understand it towards the end there. You increased the ranking of the 72 Stowe Road property from something up to a 4, and as my understanding is, you're ranking them based on cost acquisition of the property. And could you just re-explain why you changed that rating number? Did the price change, or was there another reason why that number all of a sudden went? I think it went from like a 1 or a 2, and bumped it up to a 4, but I didn't hear the explanation. Thanks.
Can you answer that, Mary?
Yes. So when we did it before, it was done because there were just a few sites, it was done as either a 5 because there was no cost, or a 1 because there was some cost. But now that we have more sites on there, the costs vary. And so 72 Stowe Road, it has the lowest acquisition cost. So 502 has no acquisition cost, so it would be a 5. But 72 Stowe Road has a lower acquisition cost relative to the others, so we gave it a 4. We expect, but we don't know yet for sure, so this could change, that we set that 1300 would be the highest acquisition cost, so we gave that a 1, and then we gave the 700 to 832, which is multiple properties, a 2 for acquisition cost.
And what about 700?
So it was a relative rating.
What did you give 700 by itself?
We didn't change that because we're not considering that.
But the cost
is
differential,
off the table.
The cost differential between 72 and 700 is only 0.2, right? So, for $200,000. It just felt like you bumped that number
up. Well, we don't know yet. We don't know that yet. We're negotiating. It's
plain old 700.
The property that needs to be purchased.
Right.
But plain old 700, we didn't change because we're not considering that one anymore. It does not work alone. And so we didn't even talk about that.
Okay, but you had a range from 0 to something?
No, from 1 to 5.
Okay, but the cost of the 502 property is 0. And then the next best
Correct.
cost is 1.2 million at 72 Stowe Road, and then the next best cost is something higher than 1.2 million, is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, I don't think you can give those rankings unless you're working with real numbers, because we don't know what those numbers are.
Well,
like you
we
assign them.
also talked about adjusting these as we get different information. But we have to keep doing our work and moving forward, so thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Priya would like to say something.
Okay,
All
Priya?
right, now, this is exactly why, Mary, that like coming up with a cost, you see how now, like without knowing exactly, without like don't overpromise, underdeliver, like these are the reasons why. Mac, I hope you're hearing it too. It's very hard to come up with a number like arbitrarily. Just wanted to make that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody in the room like to speak? Yes, Chief.
One more clarification, just in fairness to what Mark had been talking about. If we were still looking at the other side of Burroughs, where the leaching field is, and if we were looking at that area, then yes, there is a Zone A on the opposite side of Burroughs than where the building would be, but the location where the building is outside of that Zone A.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up,
That's a good
in
clarification.
fairness though,
Right.
the other side of Burroughs, where the leaching field is, where we've actually been looking at not potentially pursuing that
Yep.
side, because it seems like the engineer thinks that we might be able to do things on one side, that does have a Zone A over there.
Okay, that's a
Thank
good
you.
Just wanted to
clarification.
bring that up.
That is helpful.
That is helpful.
Back in the day, it was allowed to put a leach field in a flood zone.
I don't know how that leach field ended up in a wetland flood zone and
Yeah.
anything, but Jeff Glidden actually has his hand raised as
Okay.
well.
Jeff?
You should be able to unmute now.
Okay. Just to follow up on Priya's comment, at the last meeting, Mac, you distributed to us a lot of cost information for Rockland, and we never really got to review that at the listening group. And by the way, the listening group is terrific. It's 11 people that are all, residents, and they're on Stowe Road, and we have a retired fire person. So I think it's been very good. But what we asked is, could we look and compare the estimates that we have for cost compared to Rockland? And this was raised in July, just a suggestion that we talked, Lynn, who had talked to the fire chief, as well as the town manager, said they'd be very amenable to talking with you or the fire chief about similarities and differences between the two fire stations. They just got their fire station approved on the 13th of September, and their building is very similar in size. 24,000 square feet. Ours is proposed to be 20,800. The cost that they've got approved at their town meeting was 26 million, and our proposal is 31. I don't know why they're different. I'm not trying to tell you I do. I'm just saying I think it'd be very good to understand and talk to their town manager, their fire chief, and try to understand either they're wrong or we're wrong, but it's a gap of about $8 million. And Steve, you can shake your head again and again and again. We're here to try to build a fire station. We've been at this for a decade, and we need to get a fire station built. The whole listening group is so committed to this. We're trying to find zoning, siting, design, and cost that will work. We want it to get approved. You can keep shaking your head, and I've never met you, you've never met me. But I can tell you we've built a school, we've built a library, we've a lot of things in town, probably before you got here. But you ought to think about this as a crowd, as to what's the difference between how can they build something, and maybe they're wrong, for 26 million, and we're gonna build a smaller building for 31. Thank you, and I'm sorry if I picked on you, but.
All right, thank you.
Just Jeff.
Jeff,
I have
it could
spoken to-
mean also, if I can also say that, it could also mean that there is some differences too, right? Like I understand where you're coming from, so I think maybe we can look into that. What is the difference and why the difference is? Maybe
So that-
there's.
But hold on. Look, before anyone else speaks, the chief has something to
We
say.
recommended that you look into this in July.
Yeah, hold on.
Wait,
Jeff.
Jeff, wait a minute.
I have spoken to the Rockland Fire Chief. It was part of the report. I had a lot of the questions that Mac had conveyed to me that came from your committee. I asked those questions to the Rockland Fire Chief. I included it in the comp report. if there's more specific questions that you would like asked, Jeff, I would be more than happy to call that chief back if you would forward those questions to either myself or Mac so he can get them to me. I'll call back and ask any question of the Rockland chief that you want. But I had a very long conversation with that chief, and it should have been in the comp report that I had provided to Mac and Mary for your listening group. So if there was something I missed, I apologize, but I would gladly follow up.
That if you did it, and the question was, why is the cost on one building so different than the others? We just asked it, and it was recommended that an architect that's worked with them, just talk to them. That's all I'm recommending.
I can add
Okay,
this.
Mary?
Get some input. It's been 3 months. It'd be helpful.
Mary?
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, and we'll move to Mark.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on, we have Becky in the room. Do
Okay,
you want to go first?
yes.
Yeah,
Becky.
thank you. I just, I'm here about this Monday group, but the Monday group was not appointed by the Board of Selectmen to make the decision. You all were decided. This Monday group has gone rogue, and it's a number of people who you figured needed to come together and chat and feel good about it, but you all were appointed to make the decision to report to the Select Board on what was the best place for a fire station, not the Monday listening group. And Owen was a member, and he would tell you the same thing. So I think you all need to make the decision, and great, let them send emails, but they're not part of this committee.
Okay, and then we have Mark Barbadero.
Uh,
Oh, okay.
Is there anybody else
He's already
that he hasn't spoken?
He has already spoken, so
Can I ask the chief a question?
Yes.
Chief, is it not true that over in Rockland, they started with a much more expensive station in the order of something like 33 million, and they were able to reduce the cost dramatically because the town promised the fire department they would build a second station? Is that not true?
That's not true.
Okay.
It's not that they promised a second station, it's that the need for a second station has been recognized, and there's been talk about moving towards it. So that is what made the reduction in the size of the station that they have agreed upon now
So whatever
a little
they
more palatable to the fire departments, because they know that the town's recognized
Right.
the need for a second and are willing to start the discussions of moving toward it.
So whatever they cut out of this $33 million building, they expect to replace and put in a second building when the time
But there's been
comes.
no promise, no guarantee.
No promise to do it.
It's just been recognized as a
Yeah.
need, and that there's been some type of verbal commitment.
Yeah.
My understanding is to move towards that.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank
But
you.
that explains why there was a dramatic cost reduction, is quite a bit of the program was probably removed from the building.
Mark, can you say what you need to say in 1 minute?
Sure can.
Okay,
I want to thank the chief for pointing out that the map does not show the flood zones. You know, you guys actually should show the correct map so that people can actually visually see the comparison between 1300 and 502. In fact, the members themselves should look at it before making decisions like that. And then lastly, please figure out whether or not you can put that fire station in with the cuts that are necessary at 72 Stowe Road. Don't just take an architect saying, I think it can work. Do a little investigating and figure it out. That was what was requested of the PARI report and the HKT study. They both said, if you can't figure out if those are redoxamorphic soils that are resulting in the high groundwater, you may not be able to build there. And you guys, I've told you this many, many times, and we're just not moving forward. I understand you run yourselves out of money studying 502.
okay, Mark, as you, after the 14th, that may be a moot point, so I don't think we have to talk about it anymore.
I need to say something, I'm sorry. It is inappropriate to be calling out professionals, discarding or disregarding their opinions. It's inappropriate to be calling out employees. If you have comments about what we're doing and calling us out, that's fine. But I cannot tell you how disappointed I am that somebody called out a member of the fire department tonight. That is unacceptable. I don't care. I know everyone, there's sides and they've been drawn, but to call out an employee of this town on a public meeting, I find that to be so disappointing. And again, Jeff Shaw from Context, I don't know why any of the professionals still work for us, because all they, constantly being questioned. Again, I appreciate everything they've given us. I feel like they've given us all sorts of, good information and information that we can move forward with. Maybe we just need to show a little respect to the employees, maybe to this committee. I don't even care if you show us respect, and to the professionals that we've hired. I'm sorry, but I just can't. It really bothers me that that happened tonight, especially to one of our firefighters, and I'd like to apologize on behalf of the committee that we allowed that to take place.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Maria, second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Alan, second. I'll call for a roll call vote. Mary?
Berlin, aye.
Maria, Priya?
Sundaram, aye.
Alan?
Alan, aye.
Maria?
Neil and I.
Max, aye. Okay, the meeting is closed.
Thank you.